But yes, the NI dominant types like the say the INTJ or INFJ, they'd get overwhelmed with all the possibilities and would have a hard time knowing what the one path they're going to follow is, like in ESTP or ESTP or ESFP would. Um, and so extroverted sensing, it really seems like it would lean more towards like the fire signs or perhaps the um, earth signs, but as a whole, the like ESTP archetype seems to fit more into fire because fire types are supposed to have the this vision. They already have um, this idea to do something in the energy and the enthusiasm behind it. Um, and it seems to really fit. Usually, um, the most like stereotypical ESTP seems to fit Aries the most, but then again, overall, I'd say Aries fits most with just like a type that has ES. That's a counterphobic 6 because of Aries' impulsive nature. And there could be, any type that has extroverted sensing could possibly have Aries strong in their chart, like especially if they are counterphobic 6 to give them that extra, push. Um, like you can be any type and be any sign, but I also want to get the point across that there's more specificity to it than just the normal, like, okay, if you're born on one of these days, then that's your sun sign. And you could be an INTJ that was born on any day of the month or whatever. And no, um yeah, no, I don't believe through all my studying, once again, I just don't think that it works that way. I think you have to learn the process, learn um the pattern, learn how one sign is ahead or behind the next in the process. And then when you have all these certain characteristics, certain things develop to a certain level, and then certain other aspects of yourself that are less developed, then that overall picture creates you fitting into one of the 16 JCF or MBTI types. I really want to make sure that that point is gotten across, and you don't have to. Of course, I encourage you to do your own research, but that's what I have come to with it. And yeah, so yeah, extroverted sensing seems like it's more fire. I could see Earth, um, because of the tangibility of Earth, but then again, overall, all the Earth elements have this kind of sense of practicality to them, and that doesn't mean ESTPs can't be practical. That's why I think it's kind of a more of a blending towards fire and earth, followed by air, and then probably water last, more than likely. And there's a possibility that there's like, for instance, there could be a little bit of a mix up with the water seeming like it's even less than it really is because of it being snuffed out by the fire. Like they might be so excited and so energized about, the thing that they're excited about doing that they might have feelings about something and a sensitivity towards it, but they're totally just like, you know, blocking it out or are distracted by the um, idea that they have. But ultimately, I still think it's most likely water last. Um, but like for instance, okay, I think Sagittarius, you could make the argument for extroverted perceiver in general that's in Enneagram 7, and probably most likely self preservation last, because their first um, motivation is just to explore and gather more information. It's usually more the travelers of the zodiac, which I see as the people that are willing to let their own health and stuff go to the wayside because they're um, willing to like explore the world, which seems very self-preservation last. Um, and then because of the more intuitive nature of like the knowledge coming from Jupiter and all of that, and the more like broad connections and them having trouble explaining what they know, I would think it'd be more likely to be one of the um, one or the other, either an EFP or an ENP or both. So most likely ENFP. Um, but it would most likely, like all out of all of them, fit extroverted perceiver. And Enneagram type 7, and the Geminis are definitely, there's a strong correlation between Gemini and Enneagram 7. It's just that they're both different types of sevens, and you could even say that maybe like Sagittarius, like I could see how you could fit into the Sagittarius archetype and be an Enneagram 5, or maybe kind of in between the two. Like maybe you're a really developed 7, or like really a 5 that's going through a really hard time because of the specific challenge that you're going through. Maybe going from, say, Sagittarius to Capricorn, where maybe Capricorn would be your version of becoming a type 5, because Capricorn has, deals with you, creating and working on this system, and, that could be you isolating yourself. Well, you don't necessarily have to be isolating yourself if you're a type 5, but, you could be leaning towards just obsessing over gaining this knowledge to use to navigate the world. So Sagittarius could be the more leaning towards going to 5 of the two, which Gemini is also gathering information, but it's just it being ruled by Mercury and all. It seems like it's a much more, uh, frenetic and more traditional type 7 um, archetype for Gemini. um, and also they're like they say those are the two signs that are like the most alike out of the opposites. So I'd say kind of the same thing, most likely an extroverted perceiver, but probably leaning more towards the thinker's side than the feelers, even though it's definitely possible for the feeler. And again, you can have, like, everyone is every sign also. Like everyone has all 12 signs in them. It's just in what amount and what area of their life. Um, and then where the ruler of like each of those signs is at, and the influence. It's there's more. I want to say there's kind of like more possibility, more like fluctuation, more movement with astrology. But then again, I'm thinking that it's really there's movement with I believe you can change your JCF type or MBTI type, but it's just a really, really long process. And really difficult to do. Like, for instance, I've never seen anyone do it. I've never seen someone move from one to the next, ever. So, but I do believe it's possible. Um, yeah. Okay, so for Earth, I'd say it's more of like the introverted sensing and extroverted thinking, more tendency towards that. So probably like overall the Earth signs tend to lean more towards at least the SJs, if not the STJs. Um, I see a lot of like Virgos, for instance, being SFs in my own experience, but I could definitely see how it could kind of just fit as those being STs as well. You know, just sensors in general, really. Probably really Virgo is probably the most introverted sensing sign. Um, and then probably Capricorn leaning the most towards extrovert thinking, and Taurus. Um, really, honestly, I could see Taurus being the most like INTP-ish, as a stereotype sign, because they very much just want to take their time, and they want to, you know, deeply think about each step that they're making. And there is, but it's not a very tight correlation with INTP in particular. Um, but I would say there's probably more of an inclination towards introverted thinking than extroverted thinking, but with SP high, like probably like SP first or second, or self-preservation first or second, and um, but I could see it relating to introverted sensing as well, because of the wanting the tangible, you know, physical things. Um, really, probably leaning more towards the sensing side of it, but just a lot of it, um, like it might be actually that might be the one that's relating more to like SFJs, like ISFJs or ESFJs. um, but and there's another point I wanted to make is there's a connection between the difference between extroverted thinking and introverted thinking in the transition between Capricorn and the next sign Aquarius, but in different degrees, because it's like for instance, like if you include like the cusp signs, you could be in between Capricorn and Aquarius,